Hey guys, this is Paul Bray, and today I'll be showing you another tutorial, part 2 of creating a puddle. In the first part, if you remember, we set up the scene, we created the environment that the puddle will exist in, and we added the ground texture. So now in today, part 2, we'll be adding reflections, creating a bump map, and finally finishing off with specularity. So let's go ahead and get over to Blender. Okay, and here's our street surface yet again. So what we want to do first off is select our plane, and in the material section here, turn on mirror and leave all of these as default. Now we want to go under texture over here and go ahead and click on the one below it and add a new one. We're going to go to image or movie, open our image, and we're going to do the original, the one that we used, not the original, but the black one setting that we have on it right now. Or we haven't used this one yet, but this has bumps in it, these black holes, which can be created if you're not using the source file from blender.org. They can be created with GIMP or Photoshop or any other image editor. So we need to go ahead, after we've done that, make sure again that it's underneath it. We're going to add it, call it mirror texture, and then we're going to, under the mapping, select UV for coordinates, and then in the influence, we're going to decheck color or uncheck color, turn on ray mirror, RGB to intensity, and negative. What that's going to do by turning on the negative is reverse this color here and bring it out. So now if we went ahead and rendered it, we should get something similar to this. And you can see the reflection from the city right here coming up. So we basically, let's see how much we can see. You can see a little. We might need to change the background image layer, but that's what we're seeing right now. You can see a little reflection from the city, so let's go ahead and stop that. And now we're going to go ahead and go to the second step, which is creating a bump map. Bump maps are really good to use because they're not very expensive to render and they give a great effect. So under our textures, let's go back here and again add another texture under mirror, and we're going to call it normals. Again, open, let's see, the image movie, open the same black image with the black spots, and then we're going to go back to mapping and set it as UV under the coordinates. In the influence, down at the bottom, we're going to decheck color and turn on normal geometry, but we need to set it to -0.15. So this should look like this when we render it. You can see a little bit of the cracks in the texture, but it's really it doesn't have a huge amount of detail. You can't see a lot, so we would prefer the cracks to be more reflective and less distorted. So what we want to do is we need to alter the contrast of the image. So let's go here to colors and change the contrast to about 3, and you can see what it'll do to the. So we'll just change that above image. So we're going to go back here, render it again, and see. You can see we get all this little detail in here now. And here that we weren't getting before. And you can see that in there, a little bit of a blur right here. But it nonetheless looks much more detailed now. So now the cracks look a little more flooded, like they have water collected in them. So now we're going to do the last step and add specularity. Specularity is a good thing to use to sort of fake reflections on 3D objects. But before we go to add our final texture of specularity, we want to go to the material settings and turn off specularity. So let's set it to 0, because we're going to add our own specular texture, which we don't need to see in the materials panel. Again, go to texture, add another one, and we're going to call this specularity. Image or movie, know the routine by now. Open, and we're going to do the white image that you'll see. It has these white reflections instead of black. Under mapping, going to set the coordinates to UV, and then in the influence we're going to once again decheck color and check the intensity and put it at about 0.6 is where we want it at. We'll experiment with this value, but for right now we'll leave it there, and let's see what we get. I'm going to go ahead and let this render out completely, because this should be our final shot. We have a little bit of a blur here, which is where our main puddle is, which we could alter by changing around the light source. And over here you can start to see a little bit of the city reflection all up in the cracks here and over here, and also right in here. We can start to see the city background that we set. If we wanted it to show it better, we might move the plane over, but it does what we need for the purposes of this tutorial. And that's it. There you have it. That is creating a puddle. This is concluding part 2 of 1 and 2.